Hello and welcome to another episode of Time of Death. I'm Ris.
And I'm Dee.
And we weren't here yesterday, but we're here today ready to give you another new, exciting, thrilling, informative case.
And introduced our guest host.
Put her to the microphone. Let her pant and let everyone hear.
Yes, Lily, say your piece.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you, Lily.
For those wondering, she is a little Chewini.
She's the same Chewini.
It's the same Chewini that we featured in our previous episodes.
Yes, the all-white Chewini.
The all-white, youthful, spunky Chewini.
Yes, who's not a baby anymore.
Well, she's still a baby.
Okay, she's an 8-pound baby now.
Yeah.
She's a bite.
How old is she now? She's a 5-month-old Chewini. Very cute, very sweet.
Very sass.
And we've actually been going through the process of introducing her to my 2 cats, which is very interesting. We'll put a photo of what one of the cats is doing. Right, Dee?
They're both outside the door.
Take a picture. You know, the one thing these cats can do is hunt. Now, I don't think they would ever do anything to little Lily the Chewini, but they definitely could if they wanted to.
Hi, Chewini. There's like a picture. We should use that one.
Can you please?
All 3 of them. Send it to me. I'll put it on.
All right, everyone, please look at this photo. It's totally the energy of this house tonight. Anyway, let's get into this case. So if you are new here, we are 2 nurses. We like to talk true crime. We like to focus on cases that have a heavy medical influence to them, or cases that feature a medical professional as the perpetrator or victim. So the case we're going to be talking about today is interesting in the defense's argument. And I learned some things that I didn't know about. So I'll jump right in unless there's anything you want to add.
I just want to tell you how transfixed cats are. Like, they look spooky.
They are spooky.
Spooky.
They are spooky cats.
Just take a minute and look at how cute they are.
They are so cute.
They're creepy.
They want the puppy. They want the puppy as a sacrifice.
We demand payment.
We demand the puppy.
That baby puppy, did she fart?
They're fierce, especially the little one. So,
She definitely is the more fierce of the
she
two.
is.
Tell them about the bird.
I was going to tell them about the tomcat.
Oh yeah, tell them about the tomcat.
So we had a big tomcat. I was at my old apartment, so we're on the first floor, and I woke up one morning and I hear like yowling, one of the cats yowling, and so I run out and I see Wolf, the little cat, like super aggressive in the window, screaming, hissing, like yowling at this, what I found out to be a big orange male tomcat. And if you know Wolf, she's like maybe 9 pounds. Bubba's like 15, 20 pounds. And so she's a little cat. She's timid. She's a little antisocial. This big tomcat is probably about twice Wolfie's size, but she's hissing. She's putting all of her power behind it. And I looked over and I see Bubba at the door just staring at the cat. Bubba's more like a creepy energy with other animals and cats. Wolf's like a ferocious energy. The cat actually gets scared off by Wolf.
Wow.
And Wolf runs to the other windows in the house searching for where he went. And then later on in the day, he came back. And so she started screaming at him again. And again, he ran away. Like she was fighting this cat off. Like she was heavy breathing at the window. I think he was like curious about what was in the house and he wanted to come in. And Wolf, I think, was protecting her house. Anyways, so let's just get into it. So, on a warm summer day in East London in June 1981, Sandie Craddock, aged 28, worked as a barmaid. And She ended up, through her shift, stabbing her 19-year-old coworker to death. She stabbed her 3 times in the heart.
Wow.
Sandie had a lengthy criminal history with 45 previous convictions, ranging from arson to assault to theft. So, obviously, she goes to trial, and defense has an interesting argument, to say the least. Sandie had diaries and medical records documenting a history of violent outbursts that followed a cyclical pattern over the span of years. Defense argued that PMT, or premenstrual tension, which is a symptom of PMS, quote, turned her into a raging animal each month and forced her to act out of character.
A raging animal? I like that description.
They also reported that she had memory loss of these events.
Wait, hold on. I'm familiar with PMDD.
Mm-hmm.
But to think that I have not met anyone that resembles an animal
Yeah.
with loss of consciousness during these episodes.
Yeah.
From PMDD.
I think, like, these arguments, like, don't get me wrong, PMDD, and we'll get into it, is very real medical diagnosis, but I do think that sometimes this can be used kind of like our sleepwalking case. Oh, I have this, so I can use this as a, excuse for my behavior. But anyway, we're going to get into it, and then you guys can come to your own conclusions from this. It's very interesting, in my opinion, that this was used as a defense. This is not actually the only case that has used it as a defense. So, first of all, what is PMS? And what is PMDD? What's the difference between the two?
Should have asked us last week because we were both PMS.
I'm still PMSing. So,
I'm over that hump.
you can ask me, and I'll tell you
Tell him, Rice.
all the symptoms I have.
Tell him.
So, the menstrual cycle affects the brain in various ways, some of which benefit the brain and some of which do not help you at all. It can make people feel more anxious at times, more irritable at some parts of the cycle, and in other areas of the cycle, it can increase people's communication skills and also make them more spatially aware, which is interesting.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
I think my communication skills take a nosedive.
Well, it's saying, like, during the cycle in general, not just the menstrual cycle, or not just while you're menstruating.
I was like, communication, spatial awareness, these are 2 things I struggle with.
I know. I'm like,
regularly.
are you kidding? Like, I can't even, like, I have trouble concentrating. Like, I feel like my communication skills totally are more lacking during my period. But at certain parts of someone's cycle, it can be improved, apparently, according to this article. PMS is somewhat genetically inherited. PMS usually begins a week or 2 before the period begins, while one's body is going through the luteal phase, which occurs after ovulation and before menstruation. People with PMS can experience depression, mood swings, anger, as well as physical symptoms like acne, tender breasts, bloating. They may also have fatigue, poor energy levels, and these symptoms usually start and last until the start of one's period. These symptoms are generally mild and generally don't disrupt one's life to a severe extent. Sometimes it can cause, discomforts, annoyances, but typically one can go on with their lives as normal for the most part. In some cases, however, the PMS symptoms are debilitating.
True, yes. Amen. True that.
They interfere with normal activities. They can interfere with the way you relate to friends, family, romantic partners, coworkers, and it can have devastating impacts on one's life.
Ris, let me tell you, this may be TMI for this podcast, but I'm going to say it anyways. When I get the period poops, my whole day is spent. Because I'm in the bathroom. I'm crying in the bathroom. I have to take off every article of clothing that I own in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I'm like fighting for my life on that toilet bowl.
when it's this debilitating, people's lives are affected. You know, they do stuff that's out of character. They can, like, I'll go into, like, more detail about the symptoms that people with PMDD can have. But basically, severe PMS is PMDD, premenstrual dysmorphic disorder, was only added to the DSM in 2013. So this is only a little over 10 years ago. It is now classified as a psychiatric disorder. It affects 3 to 8% of the world's female population. So PMDD is related to PMS, like I said, but it's more intense in its severity and its effect on people's lives. A study done in 2017 showed that there is a gene expression in patients with PMDD that makes them even more sensitive to estrogen and progesterone, which are hormones. Physical symptoms can be similar to PMS symptoms, so they often will have symptoms like bloating, headaches, breast soreness, fatigue, but the psychiatric symptoms are more severe depression to the point where people can feel hopeless or even suicidal, severe anxiety, they can feel on edge, they can feel super tense, increased impulsivity, aggression, antisocial behaviors, mood swings. Some people may display behaviors that are out of character. Some people can feel disconnected and stop caring about one's job, hobbies, even their friends and families. Sometimes in some of my research, people can be so disinterested during their period, and then after their period starts or before it finishes, they start feeling back to their normal and then work to repair everything that went wrong during their period. Like, okay, I guess I got to repair my friendship. Oh, I got to answer all those emails from work that I just did not care about answering. Just some examples. 15% of patients suffering with PMDD have attempted suicide. In some cases, it has been associated with violent outbursts. Because some symptoms can be so severe, some people opt for hysterectomies due to the severity.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep. PMDD is poorly researched and poorly understood. Many people are misdiagnosed. Of course, women's health topics are understudied and overlooked, so it's not surprising. In 2013, when it entered the DSM-5, there was fear and anticipation that came along with it. Patients who had been struggling with PMDD and psychiatrists dealing with PMDD and their patients pushed for its recognition. However, other professionals feared it would get in the way of normalization of normal hormonal changes, and it also might mask the validity behind people's anger. Oh, she's just PMSing. She's crazy, irrational. It must be her time of the month. Just some examples.
Hear that. I still hear that.
It's so ingrained in our culture. A woman gets mad, and it's like, oh God, she has her period.
Flow here to visit. How many euphemisms are there for someone having
so many, and it's so unnecessary too. There was also backlash that pharmaceutical companies were pushing for the addition of PMDD because ultimately the FDA did approve antidepressants for the treatment of PMDD. One drug, Prozac, which is used for depression and anxiety.
Yes, you can use it. It has so many OCD, MDD, so many indications.
So Prozac was even remarketed, renamed Serafem, and recolored pink and lavender to be more attractive to female patients. And they even changed their slogan to, think it's PMS? It could be PMDD. This pushed the idea, meds can fix the problem instead of truly looking to understand the menstrual cycle and research PMDD. However, for some people who struggled through their symptoms, knowing something was wrong, this diagnosis helped give them some peace and comfort to know that they weren't alone in their suffering. This was an actual psychiatric illness.
It is. It still is.
It still is, yeah. I'm just saying, back when it was first included in the DSM.
Oh, the DSM-5, the DSM-5 TR still has things that need to be revised. So, but I think that hitting PMDD, I think it needs a new name.
So we, as medical professionals, need to put the time and energy into understanding menstrual cycles, more about PMDD and PMS, and just so that we can do better for our patients. To be diagnosed with PMDD, symptoms need to be present 1 to 2 weeks prior to the start of one's period, and then dissipate when it begins for at least a 2-cycle period, or it needs to be present during most cycles over the past year. So oftentimes a PCP or an OBGYN will provide patients with a journal or a tracker sheet to document their symptoms. They must have at least one of the following 4 core symptoms or affective symptoms: mood swings, anger, depression, anxiety. And they must also have at least one of the following somatic or cognitive symptoms: decreased interest in usual activities, trouble concentrating, lethargy, change in appetite, insomnia or oversleeping, feeling overwhelmed or out of control, physical symptoms like bloating, breast tenderness, or joint and muscle pain. These symptoms again start premenstrually and then end before the bleeding ends and before one begins ovulation. And finally, they must cause significant distress to the patient. Making this diagnosis can be complicated by the fact that people diagnosed with other mental illnesses like depression or anxiety can have worsening symptoms premenstrually. This is known as PME, or premenstrual exacerbation. However, people with these mental illnesses do not have the waxing and waning fashion that PMDD has. Their symptoms do not appear and then disappear dependent on where someone is at in their cycle. So treatment for PMS typically includes lifestyle changes like dietary changes, ensuring adequate sleep, exercise, stress reduction, and sometimes over-the-counter meds like Tylenol, Midol, ibuprofen. Treatments for PMDD, however, include the above treatments, but usually pharmacological intervention is involved, such as antidepressants, especially SSRIs, or birth control pills to help stabilize hormonal levels. So in Sandie's case, she actually ended up only getting probation and a court order to start taking progesterone. That year and a year later, at some points her progesterone dose was lowered or even stopped.
How the hell did she get away with that? Just a little pill, getting off scot-free.
I know, but listen to the rest. At some points, like I said, her progesterone dose was either lowered or stopped completely, and during these periods, she threw a brick through a window, attempted suicide, and even brought a knife to the police station. Each time, she again was released on probation.
What?
There are other cases that are similar. In 1991 in Virginia, so in the U.S., a surgeon named Geraldine Richter was pulled over for erratic driving. She was driving under the influence of alcohol. She ended up threatening the police officer and attempting to assault him. She was acquitted after defense argued that her PMS contributed to her aggression. In 2018 in India, a woman was acquitted after she pushed her 3 kids into a well, and she ended up killing one of them. Defense argued that she was experiencing severe PMS. So this is an interesting take. I didn't see anywhere in my research about any memory loss throughout any of these. I think that's pushing it. I do think, I agree that sometimes PMDD can make people have rages, but at the end of the day, you're still responsible for your actions.
Well, and rage is such a powerful word.
Yeah.
When someone gets angry or rage is beyond that. Rage is you're blinded by everything besides that emotion.
That's true. I guess they can have a lot of anger, irritability, severe mood swings.
On the other side of the coin, last week, if you didn't listen, I did feel rage about my Dairy Queen Blizzard not being hand delivered to me.
You did.
By my significant other. It was a exaggerated response, an overblown response to something that was really normally stuff like that. I may be annoyed, but I'm not going to like cry about it because I did cry.
Well, crying is part of PMSing too, is that you cry too.
Yeah,
That's true.
Sometimes. I know I used to cry.
very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just blame it. Don't blame it on the alcohol. Blame it on the PMDD. So, Riss, what are you gonna blame on your PMDD?
I didn't never do anything wrong.
False. Little Chewini had an accident, and Riss goes, "Why didn't you lift her up?"
Well,
What the?
Okay.
I had to lift up. I'm used to a German Shepherd. By the way, not to brag, but my dog does not have accidents in the house.
She's 5 months old.
He's how old?
She's eating something.
Oh my God! What are you eating? What are you eating? See, this is why I can't have puppies. I can't have no puppies. Oh. She looks like she's at the dentist.
oh my God.
But no, the I think that it's very interesting. I just wish that you would have talked about period poops, because that's the real criminal.
I actually didn't see anything about, surprisingly, GI upset with PMS or PMDD.
I tell you, that's my most significant symptom.
Yeah.
But that's
Truly, some days I'll be fighting for my life on that toilet
Yeah.
bowl.
What do you mean fighting for your life?
Literally fighting for my
You
life.
need to get into the bathroom because you have to go to the bathroom
Oh
all
no,
the
I will have cramps. I will be like, it's just unbelievable.
painful.
Painful.
Will you have it during the period or premenstrual?
I'll have it day 2.
Okay. So that wouldn't be a PMS. PMS is before your period starts. That's just a period symptom.
PMDD is until you stop bleeding though.
PMDD symptoms start 1 to 2 weeks before and last, somewhere when the period starts or before the bleeding ends. Do you have PMDD? I don't know.
I'm not no psychiatrist.
That's what you're
Perhaps PMS, it can last before the bleeding ends. And I agree with you.
I use that term and I don't know for sure. And I should know.
Let me look it up. So it says here that your symptoms can last up to like 4 or 5 days into your period. So a decent amount for most people with their period. But which I think makes sense because I feel like my symptoms last until like day 4 of my period.
That's exactly for me too, because
So you're right. You do have period poops. Do they start day 2? So they start while you have your period.
mm-hmm.
So I don't think that'd be considered a premenstrual period or a premenstrual symptom. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't start before 1 to 2 weeks before your period.
it's a good point, Riss. I looked up why that happens. It is prostaglandins flooding your system.
For all the poop?
Yeah, and the cramping increases peristalsis,
Which is?
movement of the GI tract.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was crying on the toilet. Why me, God? Why me? Why? And I basically live in the bathroom that entire day. And of course, I'm always working.
Oh my God.
So you have to go to the bathroom frequently?
Yeah, I spend like a good chunk of the day in the bathroom.
Is it diarrhea?
Sometimes.
I feel like I
Must be
usually have
very
diarrhea.
cleansing. I used to have diarrhea.
I'll have diarrhea, then I'll have a formed, then I'll have a loose.
This is riveting. Anyway, that's all I have really for today.
That was excellent, Riss. I really appreciate it, especially in light of our events from last week.
If you suffer with PMS or PMDD, especially PMDD, if you have PMDD diagnosis, just feel free to let us know if you want to share about some of your experiences with it. Because I think, like we talked about, it can be extremely severe and debilitating and isolating. And we're not saying like anybody with PMDD is capable of murder or, bodily harm of another person. It's not, fair to generalize an entire group who's dealing with this. It's just, if you experienced it, it's always good to talk. Even if you didn't experience it, maybe you know somebody who did, or you listen to this podcast and you want to educate others. It's always good to share that info so that more research and understanding can come from a crime like this. Anyway, that's all I have.
Excellent. Informative. Interesting.
Helpful.
Thank you.
The cats are crying.
They want to open the door. All right, we're going to call it. The time is 1912. That's 7:12 p.m. for those of you who do not use military time. We're signing off.
This has been a great episode because I got to witness the interactions between a wild Joanie and two little mountain cats as they scream for their victim. She goes, oh my God, let me go. I should go fight him.
Oh my God. All right. Bye.
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 Bye.